Okay, time's up. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call this House in order to present their case on today's motion. This House believes that the government should significantly increase the use of big data-based predictive models in decision-making to replace human judgments. For example, criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and housing development. I call upon the Prime Minister, Hekmatullah Qadeemi, to open the case for the government. You have 7 minutes to speak. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. I'm the Prime Minister from government side, and today we are strongly standing with the statement that the government should use big data in predicting and judging and replace that with humans in making so many differences, such as the criminal justice, like basic healthcare resources, and many other ways. And it's supported by so many reasons that I will explain one by one. First and foremost, before we go deep into the topic, we have to introduce what is big data predictives, or simply what is big data based predictives. First, we have to understand what's big data. Big data is the combination of structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data collected by someone. This someone can be a government, an organization, a person, a single person, or anyone. And later this data can be used to mine for information and used for a variety of purposes, such as predictive modeling, that we are talking today about that, such as machine learning or any other type of advanced analytical applications. But we are not going to talk about machine learning or advanced analytical application. We will just talk about predictive learning, predictive modeling. But in the definition, I said it's the collection of structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. So I will just briefly introduce what structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. First, structured data is simply processed data. It's stored in predefined way, and it's highly specific, or simply we can say it's more specific and accurate. Unstructured data, on the other hand, is data that's collected from a variety of sources, variety type, and it's untouched data, or simply you can say it's unprocessed data. And what semi-structured data is type of data that is collected in different ways, and it's to an extent structured and to an extent unstructured. Somewhere in between structured and unstructured data, and simply like to just clear that, it's like if someone is writing code, or simply if you have seen a block screen, especially people who are writing code in different programs, it's really about that. But it's a little complicated, but anyway. But the main question is, why we should replace human with big data-based predictives. But first of all, I would like to ask the position, do they believe in math? I know the answer is yes, okay? And if their answer is yes, they do believe in math, then they should believe on big data-based predictives as well, because it's the result of mathematical equation, mathematical logic, mathematical theories, and mathematical evidences, okay? If you believe in math, you should believe big data-based predictive models as well. And with due respect, if you believe big data-based modeling, if you believe math, but on the other hand, if you don't believe what comes out of math, it will be so silly. Because if someone trusts on science, if someone trusts on big data modeling, if someone trusts on math, and then on the other hand, don't believe on what comes out of it, it will be so stupid. The other thing, they might ask, why replacing? Okay, we have, like, for instance, big data-based modeling and big data-based predictives, but why replacing? That's the main question, because we create a lot of unemployment and so on, so I will just reflect briefly on that as well. Replacement is not a new phenomenon, okay? Since the birth of technology, we had a lot of replacement, Every time we created, we invented, and we created something better that can act better than human, that can perform better than human, that can be faster and effective and efficient than human. Of course, we replace that with humans. Like we have so many cases, crane, like the very clear example could be machines that are lifting, okay? It's very efficient, and it's the outcome of technology, and it simply replaced humans. So if we have big database predictive models, and in that case, it's the same. It's efficient, it's effective, it's error-free, it does not make errors. So that's why we should replace them with humans. And a clear example could be like, if I ask them if you have car A and car B, car A is more efficient, it's more effective as well. Sorry, you may have a seat, thank you. Like if you have car A and car B, and if I ask you that car A is more effective, more efficient, and more faster, which one do you use? Of course they may answer the car A, because car B is inefficient. And same is for big data based predictives, because it's efficient than human, it's effective than human, it costs low, and it has many more benefits. It even can help humans in their decision making, especially for effective government. The other thing is about humans and the big data control, okay? In that case, it's also for the government a very effective method to replace that, and that is, have a seat please, and that is all supported by the fact that it can easily, like this method, big database predictive, can easily control and monitor a human. For instance, if I'm a citizen of my government, okay, my country, I go through black markets, I search for some guns, I search about terms that are not allowed, okay? Easily government can follow me and they can detect me I'm a terrorist. The same case if I go and ask for some drugs, if I go ask some for illegal items like if I search for drugs, cocaine, morphine, and so on, so the government can easily detect me and automatically detect me and say that this person is a drug, and they can prevent me. At the same case, they can prevent me and prevent the society from more harming. So that's the case in all these cases, that it's more efficient, faster, so it should be replaced by humans. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Hekmatullah Qadeemi. Now we've heard from the Prime Minister. Let us invite the opposition leader to state the opposition's objections with regard to today's portion. Please welcome Muhammad Safuan bin Mohamad Akhir.
Thank you to the Madam Speaker, the respective adjudicators, the line of opposition representatives, friend of the government and the side, and the members of the floor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muhammad Safuan bin Mohamad Akhir, acting as the leader of opposition. Then I am standing to argue the motion that the government bring to the parliament today, which is the House believes that the government should increase their use of big data-based predictive models in decision-making to replace human judgment. Example, criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and also housing development. Members of the floor, normal debate as the leader of government is to bring three tasks in our decision today. Firstly, I would like to give a little bit definition of motion, which is the government failed to do so today. And secondly, I will remove the arguments from the government side and give your mechanism of main problem in terms of status quo. Thirdly, I will be giving the conclusion of the motion claim, and my other opposition representatives will help me to give you the arguments related and rebut the superficial arguments from the government side. Members of the floor, from the motion itself, I would like to say that the government should not say that should not say that they have to significantly increase their use of big data-based predictive model in decision making to replace human judgment. Because of what? Okay, just now I will try to ask them. They say that the first mistake comes from the Prime Minister is they only talk about the maths in the big data based predictive. Yeah, we agree with the math calculation and so on. But why replace? They say why replace? They say that this is because of the big data based predictive method is better than human. My question is, what is your measurement that big data is better than human judgment as they are not fully used in the entire world? This is my question. I hope that the government can answer this question. And members of the floor, when I say that it should not, it means that it has a lot of weaknesses and problems to replace human judgment. I have several places to make sure that members of the floor understand what we are trying to do. There is several places in the motion that the government has failed to do so and explain to us, and we are dispirited that, which is I will talk about what is the definition of the human judgment. What is the human judgment? The human judgment is the ability of human to make judgment, make a decision, or form an opinion objectively and wisely, especially in matters of effective action, good sense and discretion, which must be related to our motion. But the government fail to explain the human judgment because they say that human judgment is not worthy, it's not better than the program that they want to bring in our house today. And from here, we are not trying to say that the big database predictive models is not good, but we are saying that you should not replace human judgment because it is enough to make it as our assistant only, not to judge, not to replace, only our assistant, and make sure our life is more easier, especially in the three examples below, which is the first one. In the criminal justice policy, criminal justice policies is a principle or a legal structure or system is designed to judge in general sense to a person who commit the crime. And the second one, allocation of welfare resources, which is a process of assigning and managing asset and financial in healthcare resources. And the third one is housing development, which is a measurement of land value to convert the land to a new purpose by constructing building or other use of its resources. So, from the definition that I have given to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, this is defined that we want to make sure that all of you understand that we are not trying to say that we are not trying to say that the big data-based predictive model is not good for the human, but it is not worthy to replace with human judgment. Because what? First, my opinion is because the problem that comes from the big database prediction is it will create unemployment. So when I say that it will create unemployment, I will give you the example of the data that I got from technology.org. High-level estimates say that big data and automation could affect or eliminate 1/4 of United States jobs. As big data evolves and more tasks fall into the category of things that can be easily automated, entire job industry could disappear. Jobs in law, firm, hospitality, and property tend to top the list of industry likely to be affected by automation. If a recession is coming, it might accelerate this shift toward automation. As cash strapped, business look for ways to reduce overhead, and it's showing to us that if we rely to the big data, if predictive models, we will make the humans suffer because of why they don't have the job and they have to suffer from the unemployment. And we should focus to sustain employability rather than using the robot as our predictive models. And members of the floor, from here, before I'm going to my argument, I would like to give you the burden of proof that the government side to make sure that if they are really understand about this motion. The first one, show to us what is the long-term weakness using human judgment to measuring a decision making. Second, if you are talking about big data based on predictive model, is it fair to the firm because every human must be reliant to the human judgment decision to make a final decision making. And the third one is the use of big data based on predictive model providing valuable information to the people's and firm in terms of status quo. This is what you're trying to forget. We are saying that if we rely to the big data predictive models, then human judgment, what will happen in the future? It will be make the unemployment to the world. And I think that before I'm going to stop my speech, I will make the ladies and gentlemen and the House understand that the current problem right now is the government side must think that the human judgment is enough without big database predictive model. Of course, it is enough. Because why? Because it's the function of implementing BDBP when welfare of your people is neglected. Why you want to use BDBP when your welfare of your people is neglected? I hope that the government side can explain this situation. And ladies and gentlemen, so when every claim is highlighted as I just shared right now, then the motion today should be rejected as well, because the first one is it is not worth to replace human judgment because it can create unemployment of the people, and the mechanism of what we are trying to say that is it will be better for you to sustain employability than using the big data predictive models. Therefore, it is necessary for the whole House to reject the motion that the government will unanimously request to always oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Safuan bin Muhammad Akhir. Thank you so much for Shabir Ghafari. Let us invite the second speaker of the opposite to state the opposition objection with regard to today's portion. Please welcome Muhammad Ammar Akmal bin Sabri.
Fourth industrial revolution could lead to the marginalization of some group, exacerbate inequality, create new security risks, and undermine human relationship. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I primarily bid to our wise panel of educators, meticulous timekeeper, all of the members of the government side, as well as the comrade from the opposite side. Now, my job as a second minister of opposition is easy. I will do two things. Firstly, to respond to the case brought together by the Prime Minister from the government side, and second, to give our mechanism and argument. Second and third mechanism and argument from our side. With that being said, let's proceed by the rebuttal for the Prime Minister. Just now, as Prime Minister stood up, he literally said that the purpose to significantly increase the use of that big database predictive model to replace human judgment is to replace humans with something better. But they never told us at what extent that something better is. But never tell us how they can say there are people with unemployment, right? The government should actually focus on the employment instead. But now they are replacing the human who are working for the government with something else. Now how can your people can get employment as a government, right? You should take care of your people welfare. Now, as well, the Prime Minister also said that they wanted to replace humans with something efficient, but never give us a measure on how they compare the efficiency of big database policy, big database predictive model with human. Please provide us some measurement for you to actually to tell us that efficiency. There are differences in efficiency from big database predictive model as well as human. And as my first minister give the BOI, you never been there to accept any BOI. So it shows that you really scared, you are afraid to us. So let's begin with our argument. The second argument from the opposition is that we believe that big database predictive model is a human reliance model. Because why? Because by having this technology, we need human to begin this process. I mean, by inserting data to the algorithm, right? You need someone to study. So, human as well need to manage the screening process by grouping the data based on notable specification. You cannot hope that this model can provide you with desired outcome by just asking, please decide whether tomorrow is going to rain or not. By simply, when you don't even insert the data input to the model, you cannot hope that the big data predictive model can actually give you the outcome you desire. In the end, big database predictive model only visualize the outcome of the analyzed data, human will in turn make the decision, because this is not the model that can decide for us. This is not an AI. By using human, an expected factor that may come in an expected time may be reconsidered. In terms of criminal justice policy can be changed with solutions. There are probabilities that they will come later proof to prove someone that they are guilty, right? To prove someone they are innocent. So by having human who can consider these factors in later time, we can actually reverse the process of decision making. In terms of allocation of health resources, allocation of drugs can be given sufficiently. Human can decide at this weight of patient how much drugs can be needed to give the human to actually cure from the disease, right? Third, in terms of housing development, big database predictive model cannot do the fieldwork. You need to come to the land to decide whether the land price is actually valuable to develop the house, right? So therefore human can make decision without BDPM, without big database predictive model. And big database predictive model cannot make decision without human. Therefore, we should not significantly increase their use of big database or predictive model in decision making to not replace the human judgment. Third argument from the opposition side, we believe that by implying big database predictive model, it implies the high financial cost, right? Because the creation of big database predictive model will require tremendous amount of money. It requires the development of hardware, the uploading of software, the semiconductor itself, which is truly expensive, right? Not only that, the government also need to finance the expertise to manage the algorithm so it can work as we want. Moreover, if there is any damage occur in unexpected moments, hefty amount of money is required to actually repair and to pay for the maintenance of that big database predictive model. With using this model that also needed human, the financial cost can be doubled as government need to allocate money to cover both workers as well as the big database predictive model itself. Why don't we allocate the money to grow the manpower in that sector instead, government? With that being said, with no rebuttal from the Deputy Prime Minister, I believe to withstand my motion from the opposition side to actually support the motion, but given by my leader of the opposition, which is this House, believe that government should not significantly increase their use of big data-based predictive model to not replace human judgment. For example, criminal justice, policy, allocation of healthcare resources, housing development, request to always oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohamad Ammar Akmal bin Sabri. Now we have heard from second speaker. Let us invite the third speaker of government to state the government's objections with regard to today's portion. Please welcome Rahmatullah Noori.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm sorry to say about from my second speaker, Shabir. He's not feeling well, but inshallah we'll do our best. So I want to talk about the opposition, the speaker first. First of all, you said I will give you the definition, but you also failed. Speaker one, please attention there. You didn't deliver the definition. So actually, Hekmatullah, he didn't mention the definition of human judgment. You're wrong there also, you know. Everybody talk USA. I don't know why. Everybody talk about the United States of America. Forget about the United States of America. Talk about your country, you know. Suppose if you are talking about the USA, about the data, about like AI. So about you're talking about the unemployment rate in USA. Suppose so there are alternative solution for the USA. You know they know about how to deal with unemployment. It's not about the unemployment. And the second speaker, you claim that we need a human for a big data, so then there is no unemployment. Everyone is happy, no problem. You know, you mentioned that. If you need a human for a big data, so what about the first speaker? You said that, you know, for the unemployment. Speaker 1 and Speaker 2, both you are talking like a reading. Believe me, I didn't get your point. They are talking like a reading, you know. It's not about that. So, inshallah, next time, try without reading paper, because you guys just reading like a reading paper. No one is understanding. Believe me. Everybody, no one is understanding in the house. So it's all about that. I know I didn't deliver anything, but it's all about from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahmatullah Noori. Now we have heard from the third speaker of the government party. Let us invite the third speaker of the opposite party to state the opposition objections with regard to today's portion. Please welcome Fatihah, Syahirah, Binti, Nafrizam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I bid to the educators, my comrade on the opposition sides, my fellow friends on the government sides, and all the members of the floors. Today, I am Fatihah Syahirah as the opposition whip will do two tasks, which is basically to rebuttal all of the points given by the government and also to strengthen our stance on the opposition side, which is we believe that the government should not significantly increase their use of big database predictive models in decision making to not replace human judgments in terms of, in the example of criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and housing development. We will start with the rebuttal from the government whip from Mr. Rahmatullah. He clearly said that why we are not giving examples of our own country, Malaysia. This is actually because the big database predictive models in decision making is not widely used in our country because our government, because it is not worthy to replace human judgment. It is because our government care for our people. Our government care for the problems that we had arise if we use big database predictive model decisions in our daily life. And he also, I have to rebut this, he also mentioned on why we keep on reading paper, we keep on referring to things, because we keep on reading paper, because we keep on talking fast, because we read relevant and solid proof that we should not significantly increase the use of big database predictive model in decision making to not replace human judgment rather than saying nothing. Then Next, I will rebut the point by the Prime Minister, which he has failed. Sit down, I need to rebut your definition first. Okay, next, I will need to rebut the very weak definition given by the government itself, where there is no measuring tool, there is no mechanism, and there is no solution to the problem that we stated earlier. And up to the government whip, he is still not answering all of the burden of proof that we are requesting to ensure that we might lose, which not, in this case today. And he also stated that in the only definition that he gives is a big data big data, what he's trying to make us understand what is big data. And his definition, if you notice it, he mentioned that it is a collective of data by someone. Someone, are you referring to human being? Are you on our side or are you on the government side? You may read your definition again. You clearly mentioned someone. So why someone if you are still relying on human? Why would you replace human if you still need human? Why will you big database predictive models if you still need human? So there's no relevancy. So you are trying to say that human are still worthy to be to make judgment. And on the government side, they also come out on the reasons why they would want to replace human judgment with big database predictive models. They give a lot of reasons, they give a lot of the reasons why on their list, but they did not clearly mention why or what is the measuring tool that their reason is solid enough or worthy enough on replacing the human judgment. And that's why we on the opposition side believe that the government should not significantly increase their use of big database predictive models in decision making to not replace human judgment in terms of criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and also housing developments. Another weak point that the government has done is that they did not give even one case or one example from the example in the motion given, which is the criminal justice policy. None. Allocation of healthcare resources. None. Housing development. None. Yes, please.
Wallahi, no one is understanding. You know, you are talking again like a reading, believe me. And you said that he is not giving the example. He gave the example. You were sleeping at that time.
Yes. I repeat again, you give example, but it's not related to the motion that we're talking today. There's no relation to the criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and also housing development. You might need to improve your listening skill. Madam Hamidah, please. And again, as on the opposition side, we would like to highlight again why big database predictive models in decision making do not replace human judgment. Because we believe that human judgments are still worthy enough. And on the three premises brought by my friends on the opposition side, which is unemployment and also big database model-based predictive model is still reliant on human, like your definition, and also by implementing big database predictive models, it would require high financial cost. Why would you focus on your money and resources, the government, the taxpayers' money, on something that is very high when you can use that money to something else? Thus, I am Fatihah Syahirah, the opposition whip would always request to oppose today's motion. This how believe that the government should significantly increase their use of big database predictive model in decision making to replace human judgment in terms of criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and housing development. Thank you.
Thank you, Nur Fatihah, Syahirah, Binti, Nafrizam. Now we have heard from the third speaker, so we have closed for this session. The next session is to make a 4 minutes reply speech. This can be made by either first or second speaker on each team. Let us welcome the opposition side to present their first speech. Please welcome the opposition side.
Thank you to Madam Speaker, respective adjudicators, the line of opposition representative, friends of the government, and the members of the floor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, We said that the government should not significantly increase their use of big database predictive models in decision making to not replace human judgment because of what? The first one, we see the problem that come from all of the big data problem. And the second one, we come with the mechanism that can solve the problems that come from the big database predictive model. So for this reply session, I will just need to strengthen my arguments from the opposition side. Okay, the first problem that comes from the big database predictive model is it will create unemployment. And how to solve this problem is by sustained employability. And then when the second the second leader of opposition stood up and talked about the problem, which is human reliance model, big database predictive model is not a good method to replace human judgment because of what? Because this is human reliant model. So we come to the mechanism, which is we need to much more independent people. We need much more independent person to settle all of this problem that cannot be solved by the big database predictive models. And the second problem that comes from the big database predictive models is because it's a high of financial cost. So to reduce the financial cost, we can improve the quality of manpower instead of using the money to use for big database predictive models, as we cannot sure how can it promising us that it will be help us to settle the example that you can see in the front of the motion today, which is from criminal justice policy, allocation of healthcare resources, and also housing development. And we also come with a lot of examples and show to the government side, but maybe the government side today is not receive our example and always attack on our personal matters, and it is not good actually in the debate competition. And I hope that ladies and gentlemen today understand that we said that the government should not significantly increase their use of big database predictive models in decision making to not replace human judgment because it is not worthy and it has a lot of weakness, and it is not a good way as a human judgment. Thank you.
Thank you. The government side will be continuing to reply to the speech within 4 minutes. You may start now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I will start with the definition because I clearly stated that, and even I went to support. Like I explained the 3 categories before. I don't know why they didn't understand if I spoke English. I don't know well if I spoke English and they understand all about that definition. But if that camera is recording, they may probably refer to that to understand what was the definition of. Second point, Madam said about. They said about someone. Yes, I said someone, and then they said this someone can be organization. It could be a company. It could be government. I said 4 categories. Okay, by someone. I mean, like, it wasn't something I ignored. It is something or someone and then go ahead. I went into subparts and said that. They also said about not putting out questions, okay? It's all because the time constraint. And I may ask that probably how many questions did you take in your previous sessions? Of course, no. The other thing is about unemployment. I said, like, I asked 3 questions. None of them was answered. First was about car A and car B. Which one is efficient and which one would you choose? Of course, the one that's very efficient and the one that's not efficient. Everybody does that. The second one was about math. Do you believe in math? Of course, everybody did believe in math. But if you say, I do believe in math, but I don't believe what comes out of it, it's really, really stupidity with due respect. Because if you believe math, you should believe the calculation. You should believe everything comes out of math. Okay, that's another point. And as well about I will just restate that for your understanding, for the sake of understanding, or you may go to camera. About the unemployment, I said, like, yes, since the birth of technology we saw and we were witness a lot of replacement, and it's all for the betterment of us. For instance, you don't incorporate technology, you don't incorporate some better systems for the human being, okay? what would you do exactly? For instance, just take example of crane, yeah? Everybody know about the crane. Lift heavy objects, okay? It's the product of technology. Just for the sake of unemployment, I would just say this example. Although it's like out of the topic, but it's just for the sake of explanation. Unemployment rate, okay? Would you hire people to pick up hefty things and objects in order to create for them job, in order to find for them employment, and it's literally killing them? But if you have crane, if you have some other technologies to lift heavy objects, containers and other things, it will be very easy for them to do so. Yeah, that's one point. Yeah, you may shake your head, but it's the truth. And last point is all about the big data and predictors, okay? I don't know why they didn't misunderstand. And they literally, intentionally misrepresented my points. I was so clear about that, and I'm still clear about that. And one thing that's really important about that is they say like we don't have criminal in Malaysia. It's all the blessing of big data and the incorporation of big data, because government is controlling you, okay? That's why you cannot go easily into the website, search for weapons, search for drugs, search for illegal activities, for trafficking, human trafficking, whatever is that, because you scare government, because government has already taken control over you. That's why you cannot go there, okay? That's the blessing of this technology, okay? And that was all my point. And last thing, because we asked 3 questions, simple questions, but then was answered. But I'm coming to my last point, and it's all about making mistake. They say big data-based predictives make mistakes. Of course, everybody does make mistakes, okay? But comparing to humans, yes, they are prone to mistake, human prone to mistake, technology prone to mistake, but they are very little. If you compare, it's almost none. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hekmatullah Qadeemi. Moving along, both the government and the opposition side are requested to stay in the place as the adjudicators will give the comments. To the honorable adjudicators, we would like to hear some words of feedback regarding the arguments which were delivered by each them. The adjudicators are welcome to discuss within 5 minutes.